My name is James 360. I worked 22 years at the CVB. Even back then, Lindsay called me the CEO. Now let me quit. Y'all didn't know I could do that, right? I almost went viral. Thank you, Juliana. Thank you to Queen Christy. Thank you, Gabe. Thank everybody for being here. My name is James Brown, and I do want to reintroduce myself. If you know me for any amount of time, I was with the CVB for 22 years, and I transitioned out of that and started my own company called James Brown Jr. 360 in March. And thanks to MPI, we were able to pull all that together. So we're here today to talk about being a volunteer. So do you want to be a good volunteer teammate? Yes. Yeah. Uh-oh, we went too far. Do you want to make a good volunteer team? Yes. Do you want to leverage your volunteer experience? Yes. Okay, we've answered yes to all those, some yes, some no, but you're in the right place to get all that done. I am a serial volunteer. I have 40 years of volunteer experience. Trying to figure out how is this like that? It kind of started here. When I used to volunteer to help my mother do dishes, I would volunteer to help her do the laundry. Hey, I got to fold the socks. I would help my dad do the yard. I would help him wash the car. So all that started the volunteer experience, and it has carried on into my adult life. And that's why I can say, I'm sure like many of you, that we've been volunteering for a very, very, very long time. So there are just 4 quick words we're going to talk about, and then I'm going to let you go sign up. So we're going to talk about...
I'm volunteering to help your pant leg here.
Thank you so much. See, we need that. I'm not even bothered by that. Thank you, because I want to make sure I look good. We're going to talk about volunteers. We're going to talk about the value. We're going to talk about the rhyme, and we're going to talk about the rhythm. Got that? Those are 4 areas we're going to cover. We're not going to take long. Martin Luther King said it like this: everybody can be great because everybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verbs degree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. If we think about that, over the next few days, the media is going to bombard us with what service really look like. In 7 days from now, we're going to have to replay all that happened last year with Hurricane Harvey. And I think that brought us to a place that showed true volunteerism. It showed true service. It showed what volunteering, what hearts and everything is like. So that's going to come up. But we need to recapture that spirit. We need to do that for MPI. So MPI, it's so important to volunteer for MPI that they made it, the GM talked about, he kind of stole a little bit of my thunder. And I'm not going to have, this is probably the last slide with all these words on it, maybe one more, but that's it. It says, our teammates, this is MPI's part of their core values. Our teammates are the heart of our organization, and our partnerships and relationships with member volunteers are keys to our success. That's part of MPI's mantra. That's part of their core values. It's so important that they set aside an entire monthly luncheon to talk about volunteers. They have all these people dressed up in all these jerseys. There was more clothes being changed around here than a fashion show, but it's very important, this volunteer situation. So what is a volunteer? When we think about that, what is a volunteer? The dictionary defines a volunteer as a person who freely offers to take part in an enterprise or undertake a task. That's what a volunteer is. So by a show of hands, who has ever volunteered before? Wow. That's a big number, because according to the Corporation for National Community Service, only 25% of Americans volunteer. 25%. Marcus says he's part of the 25%. This was 100%. 25% of Americans volunteer. So what about the other 75% of people? What happens to them? So why do we think people don't volunteer?
They think it's hard.
Time, hard, commitment. Anybody else? Why do we think people don't volunteer? Stage fright.
Not a good team player.
Not a good team player.
Their interest.
The interest. Okay. those are some very good reasons. Those are some very good reasons why. The Stanford Center of Longevity said there are three reasons, the top three reasons people don't volunteer. One, they don't have time. Two, people are bored or don't have enough information. Or thirdly, nobody asks. So when we think about people not having enough time, that's okay. Who just has time laying around? Who just has time but they just lay around? They just have plenty of time. Who has that? Marcus. Who has time just laying around? Nobody.
I have a little bit.
You have a little bit? Well, I think people, I've come to find out, I'm starting to believe that people do and make time for what they want to do and make time for. But time is understandable. How about this one, though? You're either bored or don't have enough information. That's something to think about. When you're talking to volunteers, when you're being asked about volunteering, are you sharing the information that needs to be shared? Are you being honest and open about what's going on? Are you telling them all the information that they need to know to make a decision to volunteer? So we need to look at that about bored and not sharing information. The third one, nobody asked. Imagine that. Nobody has asked. When was the last time you sat down and asked somebody to their face, will you help me? Will you volunteer? Will you come on my committee? Will you do that? Because we have a room full of people in here who have volunteered before. The majority of people raise their hands to volunteer, that they have volunteered in the past. So when was the last time you asked somebody? Bob Odin wrote a book called The Power of Who that said, we have access to 1 million people. You have 100 friends, they have 100 friends, and you can get done what you want to get done just by simply asking a question. But we all had reasons why we didn't volunteer. Does anybody know what this is? They're Super Bowl volunteers. Who tried to volunteer to be on Super Bowl? Super Bowl had 10,000 volunteers. People took off their jobs to volunteer. People paid to park. No, not to volunteer, I'm sorry. They took off their job to interview. They paid to park to interview. I received several phone calls about, can you hook me up to volunteer? So that means that people can do what they want to do. And so when you think about reasons why not to volunteer, just think, it's my excuse. They had a waiting list of people to volunteer. So, as you know, I told you I was a serial volunteer. And one of the things I said I would never do was I would never volunteer for youth sports. Because I don't like the kids. I don't like the parents. I don't think kids deserve fair treatment. I don't think everybody should be able to play. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because it's just not worth the time. It's not worth the energy. The parents are obnoxious. The kids are bratty. They're not very good. It's just, it didn't work for me. And so my son, this is Joseph. That's my son. And Joseph is an athlete. He's played sports for a long, long time. And when he started playing baseball, the first year was okay, second year was okay. The third year we found a coach that we liked. So if you have any kids that ever had youth sports, if you find a coach that you like, that's somebody you stick to. His name was Phil. So we played with Phil the first year, got to the championship game, lost. So Phil called me one day and said, James, do you want to volunteer to coach? I said, absolutely not. I don't like the kids. I don't like the parents. Two of those kids, they never need to play baseball again. They shouldn't have been on the team. It's just, it doesn't work for me. So Phil called me over and said, let's have a coaches meeting. Now, I said, I'm not even a coach, but we found out we had some things in common. We both liked the same thing over Ice Cube, worked out great. So Phil said, let me explain something to you. If you don't coach, I have to draft Joseph. I can't guarantee I'll get him. If you coach, he'll be on the team. Coach Brown, because the value of me coaching outweighed the excuses I had for not coaching. So that was the second one we want to talk about, the value. What are we getting out of it? What about volunteering is going to make it rain for us? when we think about the positions we have, when we think about what we want to do, when we think about what we want to do with our life, when we think about the leadership positions we want, what value does it have? And does that value outweigh our excuses? If we want to lead, volunteer. If we want to learn how to do social media, volunteer. If we want to learn how to put a team together, volunteer. We want to learn how to do finances, volunteer. All these opportunities are available. All we have to do is step up and volunteer. We have to make the value of volunteering worth it for us. We have to think about, what does this mean to me? So I have a question. What are some reasons why we should volunteer? What is the reason we should volunteer? Relationships. Okay. Business. What do you mean by business?
When you volunteer, you get to know other people that might potentially be your business partner.
Okay. Personal growth, to give back. I did some market research and all of these came up. People say they volunteered because they wanted personal growth. Other people said they volunteered because they wanted to give back. Others said they volunteered because they wanted to help somebody else. Others said they volunteered, yes ma'am.
Because it makes you feel good.
It makes you feel good. It's a give back. Somebody else, it helped them develop other skills that they couldn't do on their regular job. Think about reasons to volunteer. Who has MPI been good to? Who has MPI been good to? Okay, let's think about this. MPI Global has 17,000 members, 17,000 active members. There's 281 members locally in 5 different areas. Imagine if everybody in this room volunteered to help. Okay, not everybody. Just say 50. Okay, not 50. What if 25 people signed up today to help? What would that do for the organization? What would that do for you personally? What would that do for your brand? What would that do for your visibility? What would that do for your skill set? If we just had 25 people to really sincerely sign up, what value would that add? Just think. If it's 281 members, 25, less than 10% additional people showed up to help volunteer. Now, when you volunteer, we don't want to do, I had to take my wife's car to get some air one day. The little light came on. And I went into this place where I spent a lot of money just to get some air. And I walk in, the guy's sitting there, and he's like, yeah, can I help you? I'm like, I need some air. He was like, why don't you, the hose is right there, go put the air in the tire. I'm like, if I want that, I would go to a gas station. I felt like he voluntold me what to do. So we don't want to voluntold anybody what to do. That's not the kind of attitude we want. We want the kind of attitude that people want to share information. They want to do the best they can to help the organization, help themselves, help their teammates, to be good teammates, because we're all about sports today, right? Everything's about the team. So after we have the volunteer and we have the value, next we want to talk about the rhyme. Rhyme is essentially communication. How do we say? George Bernard Shaw said it like this: the single biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Mercedes and I talked several years ago about, did they hear what you said? Did they hear you? So when we're talking, when we're trying to volunteer, when we're volunteering, whether we're on the recruiting side or the sign-up side, are we effectively communicating? Remember the old statistic that said, what, 55% of what you say is body language, 38 is tone, 7 is actually words? What if we treated our volunteers like they were our customers? What if we took time to understand how they like to communicate, what they like to say, what they want to hear, and we put them in the places to be successful? What if we treated all of our volunteers like they were our customers? How many salespeople in the house? How many salespeople? Business development? Think about the people we're trying to get. Think about the people we're trying to recruit. What if we treated them like that? We understood what they wanted. We understood their buttons. We spent time. We called them. We call the ones who like to talk on the phone. We email the ones who like to email. We text the ones who like to text. We spend time developing a relationship, figuring out what's going to work best, what's going to happen. The communication is important. It's key to what we're doing. We covered that already. Who remembers this book? Who had to read this for work? Yeah, you did. Put it like this. This is Jim Conlin's Good to Great. Some hotel chains had to read it, but the essential thing is that you find the right people, you put them on the right bus, in the right seat. That builds a winning team. The right people on the right bus, on the right seat. It builds a winning team. A lot of times we just get volunteers and we say, somebody signed up, so we take somebody who is not creative and we put them over events. We're MPI. We should have the best events ever. We're a room full of planners, a room full of creative people, a room full of people with all kinds of ideas. All it takes is you. All it takes is you. Just a few minutes of your time. Don't even make a decision about not having enough time without understanding how much time is going to be required. That's why the communication is important. With technology, you don't have to show up for meetings in person anymore. You can do video conferencing, you can do phone calls. You have all kinds of ways to communicate to get the message across. Put the right people on the right seat, on the right bus, and you build a great team. Remember this, guys? Last year, 2017. That team didn't get built in 2017. There were some years when it was 2012 and 2013 when they would almost pay you to come to a game. It doesn't happen in a day. It doesn't happen in a week. It doesn't happen in a month. MPI has been around since 1972. Who remembers when MPI was the only corporate show there was? Marcus, come on, raise you. You're older than that. Meg, some of my people who've been around for a long time understand what I'm talking about. Before there was this other stuff, and I'm not trying to cast aspersions. I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm not doing any of that. But MPI has been around for a long 46 years, and they've been around for a reason. Are we doing our part to make sure that we stay relevant? And I say we because, I think I've been a member, I think you said 17 years, Queen? This is 17, I said over 15, but I think 17 I just celebrated. And I had to finally, for the first year, pay out of my pocket. As an entrepreneur, I had to make a decision. I have to pay out of my pocket. So anyway, I did make the decision. I invested in MPI, and I'm going to continue to volunteer. I'm going to continue to take orders from the Queen because she keep calling me out, even though that's not my responsibility today. So the communication, we communicate. So in this next phase of that, so we've talked about the volunteer. We've talked about the value. We've talked about the rhyme. Now we talked about the rhythm. What is a rhythm? A rhythm is a beat. Everybody likes a good beat, right? We can put boom and we click and we boom and we click, boom, click, boom, click, and then something happens. It goes boom, click, then it goes click, 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 boom. Whoa. The rhythm changed. Did you hear it? Did you notice it? That's what happens with our volunteers. The relationship is going good. They're in. Everybody's engaged. Then something happens. Are we paying attention to the signs that our volunteers are giving us? Are we paying attention to the shift in the mood when we go from boom, click, to boom, click, click, or click, click, boom? Did we hear it? Are we paying attention as coaches, as leaders of these committees? We need to pay attention. We need to understand the rhythm that every relationship we have has a certain rhythm, a certain cadence, a certain beat to it. And when something changes, whose responsibility is it to correct? It's yours. When you recognize that it's changed, it's yours to correct. So you go figure out, hey, what happened? What went wrong? You're not as engaged as you used to be. Why don't you come back? Do we need to reassign you? Do we need to move you to another position? Do we need to change your course? You need to pay attention to the rhythm, the cadence, the beat of that relationship, because that's what it's all about. It's about relationships. That's what we do. We are people. Howard Schultz said it like this. They asked him a question. He said, he's the owner of Starbucks. And he said, you're in the coffee business. He said, no, I'm not in the coffee business. I'm in the people business that happens to sell coffee. We are in the people business. That's what we do. And that's why I said earlier that if we treated them like their customers, we would understand that it's changing. We would care enough to try to get it fixed, to try to get it right. All we're asking for is 25 or 70, how many people in here to sign up to make a true difference. So we've talked about volunteers. We've talked about the value. We've talked about the rhyme. We've talked about the rhythm of these. Are there any thoughts, any questions, anything that I need to cover before I move on? Why is this so sad looking? We're all wrapped up. DJ had us rolling, and now everybody's kind of like, what, is everybody thinking? We're engaged. I'm not talking about me. I'm good. and I want to share this because on a personal note, MPI has been very, very good to me. So several years ago, this lady and I had a conversation at a table at an MPI conference. That she's sitting right here in the front row. We had a conversation about speakers, and she was like, we ought to start this. We ought to start looking at this. We ought to start talking about speakers. And so we came up with this mantra: it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And so that kind of got my mind working. Never desired to be a speaker. This was not something I wanted to do. It's not something that was ever in my career goals. I wanted to be Meg when I grew up. That's just what I wanted to be. I was 22 years at CVB. I'm a CVB guy. Best city in the best destination in the country. That's what I did. So we started that, which kind of planted a seed. So this young lady who sat next door to me became president of MPI and said, hey, I need you to MC these lunches. Do you mind? I had a voiceover company. So I was doing that. She was like, can you MC the lunch? I'm like, yeah, that's not a problem at all. That's good. I can MC the lunch. I'm going to be there anyway. I mean, the company's paying for it. It's not out of my pocket. No problem at all, right? So she planted that seed. So this guy, his name is Dr. Rob Pennington. He was supposed to be here, send a message that said his mother was going to the doctor. He had to do that. But he spoke at the Hyatt Regency a couple of years ago at a March lunch. He came up to me after I introduced him and said, what do you do for a living? I told him what I did. I said, I'm a kick-ass sales manager for the CVB, rocking and rolling, making numbers, doing big stuff. He said, you need to talk to me. You need to be on stage. That's where you belong. He said, your introduction was one of the best I've ever had. And I'm like, okay, dude, so whatever. Didn't think anything of it. So then Monica can't be here. But Monica called me that very next day and was like, hey, I need to talk to you about speaking. I hire speakers for IFMA, and that's something that you really need to look into doing. And I say all that. This is not about me. This is the saying, what volunteer does, it can change your world. It can change your whole career path. It can change who you are. It can make a difference. There are two people, I think, who are in the world. Those are people who know what they want to do, and then there are people like me who just fall into things. Volunteering can put you in a position to make a difference in your life. If you become a better person, the organization becomes a better organization. The organization becomes better, you become better. It's this whole give and take, this whole which one came first. Volunteer. Give some time up. It's okay. You can make it up. You can't get enough sleep. You can't make up for sleep. And it still goes back to what the Texans, the Super Bowl did. People, again, stood in line to volunteer. You can make time to do what you want to do. There are people in here who used to be on the board, who used to be involved. Not sure why they're not now. I'm not going to call their names, but we're going to get them back involved. They say if you throw a rock in a pack of dogs, the one that get hit is the one who makes the noise. So only one person's laughing, right? Yeah, they know what I'm talking about. So get involved. Give your time up. Give yourself up. It's okay. There are benefits to being involved. Are there any questions? Thank you. My name is James Brown. I'm excited to be here.